The knock came at exactly 6:47 a.m. Two deputies on my grandfather's 100-year-old porch, their breath fogging in the cold morning air. "Sir, we received a report about illegal activity at this address. Mind if we take a look around?" I didn't need to ask who called. Across the fence, Karen Morrison was standing there, arms crossed, smug smile like she'd just saved the neighborhood from a terrorist. I still remember thinking, so this is how far she's willing to go. 3 months earlier, I thought the hardest part of inheriting my grandfather's ranch would be fixing it. The sagging porch, the warped floorboards, the chimney that hadn't drawn right in decades. Turns out hammers and nails are easy. People, the kind who think HOA rules are federal law, are harder. My place sat just beyond the cookie-cutter world of Meadowbrook Estates. 12 acres of old Caldwell land, fenced and free since 1903. My grandfather's badge still hung on the wall inside polished brass from his 30 years as county sheriff. I guess that badge would come in handy again. The first time I met Karen, I was stacking firewood. She walked up my gravel driveway in spotless white sneakers and a tennis visor, the kind of woman who probably alphabetizes her spice rack. "I'm Karen Morrison, president of the Meadowbrook Estates Homeowners Association," she announced like she was introducing royalty. "We need to talk about the smoke coming from your property." She gestured toward my chimney like it was spewing radioactive waste. "We have air quality standards in this community, and your burning is affecting property values." I wiped my hands on my jeans. "Ma'am, this property isn't part of your association. My family's owned this land since before your subdivision existed." She blinked, surprised I hadn't immediately apologized. Then her tone shifted sharp, dangerous. "That may be true, but we're all part of the same community. What affects one affects us all." She smiled tightly. "Maybe limit your burning to certain days." I'm trying to be reasonable." I looked past her toward her perfect world. Same beige fences, same manicured lawns, same soulless perfection. "Mrs. Morrison," I said, "I appreciate your concern, but this is private property. I'm not doing anything illegal." She stiffened eyes cold. "You have no idea what you're dealing with," she said, turning back toward her little kingdom. "This community protects itself." That line, "this community protects itself," echoed in my head for days. And sure enough, it wasn't long before the cops showed up at my door. That morning, the younger Deputy Martinez looked apologetic as he flipped through his notes. "We got a complaint about unpermitted burning." I handed him my stack of paperwork, county-issued burn permit property survey inspection reports. Everything signed, sealed, and perfectly legal. He examined the papers, nodded, and said, "Looks good to me, sir. You're in full compliance." I thanked him, walked him out, and when I looked up, there was Karen watching from across the fence. Her expression when he told her I was clear, priceless. Like someone had just told her the world was round after she'd sworn it was flat. I thought maybe that would end it. I was wrong. By the next week, my phone buzzed non-stop with screenshots from neighbors. Karen had gone digital posting on every community board she could find. Concerning activities near Meadowbrook Estates, she wrote possible environmental violations, dangerous smoke affecting children. No names, of course. Just enough to make me sound like some kind of criminal. Within days, I had inspectors at my door building code environmental compliance, even fire safety. Every one of them left saying the same thing, no violations found. But she didn't stop. The news van came next. Local Channel 7 parked by my fence while Karen stood behind the reporter pretending to be the voice of reason. I gave the interview calm as ever with paperwork to back every word. Still, I could feel something breaking inside me that night. Sitting in the dark kitchen, coffee going cold, I wondered if I was fighting a losing battle. Maybe I was the fool here clinging to a legacy no one else respected. Maybe I should just sell the damn place and walk away. Then Tom Hendricks showed up. My closest neighbor, quiet guy, honest eyes. He dropped a manila folder on my table and said, "You need to see this." Inside were copies of HOA filings and tax records. Turns out, Karen's community had been claiming agricultural exemptions using my land. She was literally making money off my property while trying to drive me off it. "She's defrauding the county," Tom said, and you're the only one who can expose it." That was the moment I stopped feeling like a victim. I picked up my phone and called an old friend at the sheriff's office, Detective Diana Marsh. Off the record, I said, "How serious is it when an HOA claims land it doesn't own for tax breaks?" Her answer was immediate. "Felony-level fraud. Bring me everything tomorrow." From that point on, it wasn't about defending my right to burn firewood, it was about justice. The final act came faster than I expected. Karen filed a formal complaint with the County Planning Commission demanding they halt unauthorized construction. The hearing room was packed, half of Meadowbrook Estates glaring at me like I'd poisoned their lawns. Karen sat up front in a navy suit, stacks of documents spread like a courtroom drama. When she spoke, her voice dripped with righteousness. "This man's activities threaten our community's safety, property values, and way of life. We demand action." Then it was my turn. I stood up, one thin folder in hand. "Commissioner, I began this property has been in my family since 1903. It's not part of Meadowbrook Estates, never has been. Everything I've done, every repair, every burn, has been fully permitted and inspected. I handed over copies of deeds and permits." Karen shifted in her seat, but I wasn't finished. Mrs. Morrison's HOA, on the other hand, has been claiming tax exemptions for land they don't own, including mine. A ripple moved through the room. Karen tried to interrupt, but I kept going. "For weeks, she's filed false reports, wasted county resources, and spread defamatory statements. And I'd like to clarify something else." I reached into my jacket and pulled out my badge wallet, flipping it open to reveal the sheriff's star. Name's Sheriff Ethan Caldwell, and I've been documenting every false report since the first day she called the cops on me. You could have heard a pin drop. Karen went pale. The commissioner blinked, then leaned forward. "Sheriff Caldwell," she said slowly, "I assume this has now become a criminal matter." "Yes, ma'am," I said. 7 false reports documented harassment and ongoing tax fraud, all signed by Mrs. Morrison. Karen tried to speak, but her voice cracked. I didn't know who you were." I looked at her steady. "That's the problem, Karen. You thought it was okay because you didn't know who I was. You thought you could bully anyone who didn't fit your HOA mold. But authority doesn't come from a clipboard or a title. It comes from the law." The commissioner dismissed the complaint as frivolous and referred the case to the district attorney. Karen just sat there frozen, while her supporters stared at her like she'd just grown horns. That's where the story ends for me, right there in that room, standing in front of a woman who finally realized that borrowed power can't stand against real authority. The look on her face when she saw that badge, that was the sound of a kingdom collapsing. She'd spent a month waging war against a man she thought was powerless, weaponizing gossip, bureaucracy, and fear. But when the smoke cleared, she learned what my grandfather taught me long ago: you can't scare someone who already knows the law better than you. And if there's one thing this fight reminded me, it's that bullies only win when you stop standing your ground.